The story begins with the main character named Jung Tae-young. A glimpse of his appearance and the tattoo on his neck indicates that Tae-young is not someone ordinary. Currently, Tae-young is talking to a psychiatric doctor named Choi Jin-ki because Tae-young feels something strange in him. Dr. Choi, who seems to be used to things like what Tae-young is experiencing, then asked Tae-young to be honest about everything, including his work, because previously Tae-young claimed that he worked in the field of importing goods. Hearing Dr. Choi's words, while taking off his shirt, Tae-young finally opened up about his background, which is a gangster boss who manages a casino called Siesta, who has struggled with the criminal world since childhood. Even the business of killing someone is something he is used to doing. Dr. Choi initially looked incredulous, but when he saw Tae-young's entire body covered in tattoos to cover his scars, instantly Dr. Choi immediately swallowed, because what Tae-young said wasn't a lie. Until shortly there came a woman named Song Yu-hwa, who was Dr. Choi's assistant. It turns out that Yu-hwa is already in a relationship with Tae-young, and Yu-hwa recommended Dr. Choi to Tae-young. In short, after observing what Tae-young said about his problem, Dr. Choi said that Tae-young has symptoms of dissociative identity disorder, which is a symptom that makes a person feel like he has another personality inside him. The only way to recover, Tae-young must be able to restrain or kill his alter ego personality. As a first step, Dr. Choi will hypnotize Tae-young to see the alter ego inside Tae-young. The scene then moves to Tae-young's memory when all his friends are attacked by someone Tae-young doesn't recognize, but the person just ignored Tae-young. Before long, Tae-young came to his senses, but now Tae-young's personality doesn't seem to be who he was before, because he claims to be a freelance magazine reporter. We're hearing Tae-young's words. Dr. Choi even said how it feels to have a body. Hearing Dr. Choi's words, Tae-young's personality immediately tried to commit suicide. Fortunately, it was thwarted by Dr. Choi by saying if the current Tae-young cannot die, because if it happens, the original owner will also die. After that, the scene switches to Tae-young's past, which Tae-young forgets and will later become a big problem for him. At that time, still don't know what happened, but seen that Tae-young involved in an accident with a man. The man was badly injured, but was saved. However, Tae-young intends to kill the man in the hospital, but Tae-young didn't do it because the nurse arrived and Tae-young only left his glasses. What Tae-young didn't realize was that the man woke up and seemed to hold a huge grudge against Tae-young. Back to the present, it is told that after doing the therapy that Dr. Choi gave, Tae-young has been declared cured of the dissociative identity disorder symptoms that Tae-young previously experienced. And now Tae-young can focus on his goal, which is to make his Siesta casino bigger. But his subordinates say that there is now a problem because a Chinese drug trafficking mafia boss named Zhou Wenjun wants to ask for shares of the Siesta casino managed by Tae-young. Of course, this makes Tae-young angry, but Tae-young also cannot just refuse Zhou Wen's request because Zhou Wen has great influence in criminal affairs. And the only way is to find an investor who will give him money so he can escape from Zhou Wen. Where unexpectedly, Tae-young's car has been followed by a mysterious person wearing a mask, and the man is the man Tae-young almost killed in the hospital, who has now moved to take revenge on Tae-young by using his money. He's trying to take over Tae-young's entire life and everything Tae-young has. He has even changed his name to Tae-young as well. Back to Tae-young, who is seen meeting Zhou Wen to discuss the matter of his request. Although Zhou Wen is a notorious mafia boss, it doesn't scare Tae-young one bit. Tae-young even shows that he's not someone who can be underestimated by beating Zhou Wen's subordinates who are disrespectful to him. It almost triggers a fight, even though it doesn't happen, because Zhou Wen asks Tae-young to give him the money for Siesta's shares. It seems that Zhou Wen's request can no longer be refused by Tae-young. Even Tae-young shows his annoyance to Yu-hwa while doing therapy. Where there, Tae-young accidentally met the masked man who was also doing therapy. The masked man who already knows all the circumstances of Tae-young and also the problems that Tae-young is experiencing. He's seen telling his subordinates to offer themselves to be investors and buy Tae-young's house, which will also be sold. Even now, the masked man is always watching everything Tae-young does, including watching when Tae-young is having fun with Yoo-wha. Because of his obsession with Tae-young, the masked man, called the impersonator, always does whatever Tae-young does. And now it's as if it's his obsession. The impersonator tries to get close to Yoo-wha, and soon Tae-young, who is in need of an investor as soon as possible, is interested in the impersonator's offer to become an investor and also buy his house. For that, after the two discussed it, the impersonator also invited Tae-young to come to dinner with their respective partners. Tae-young, who felt it was normal, agreed to the impersonator's request. After that, feeling that he no longer needs to deal with Jo-won, Tae-young is seen meeting Jo-won to discuss Jo-won's previous request. Until Jo-won, who looks at Tae-young's tattoo, says something if he has seen the shape of the tattoo somewhere. Tae-young, who is looking for this information, of course asks Jo-won to tell him. However, this is interrupted when Jo-won's son arrives. After meeting Jo-won, Tae-young is seen with Yoo-wha coming to the impersonator's invitation for dinner. There, the unexpected happens, when the impersonator's girlfriend comes dressed up exactly like Yoo-wha. Of course, this made Tae-young feel uncomfortable, and asks Yoo-wha and the impersonator's girlfriend to leave because he wants to talk to the impersonator. While holding back his anger, Tae-young asked why the impersonator wanted to be his investor. The impersonator says that he's actually not interested in the casino business at all, but he wants to pursue something deeper related to Jo-won, the drug trafficking problem that Jo-won manages. Tae-young, who also has the same goal, eventually accepts the impersonator's offer, even though the impersonator is always acting strange by saying that he wants to be like Tae-young. Now it's as if everything is in his plan. The impersonator is also seen starting to approach Yoo-wha, where the impersonator, who knows what Yoo-wha feels about Tae-young himself, easily makes Yoo-wha interested in him. Not enough with that, the impersonator was also seen approaching Dr. Choi. Who knows that Dr. Choi is crazy with money to play gambling? With ease, Dr. Choi also gave all the information about Tae-young. While Tae-young himself wanted to wash his car, suddenly several people complete with weapons came up to him and tried to kill him. Fortunately, armed with experience in this matter, Tae-young can survive and assume that the people who attacked him were Jo-won's orders. Not long after that, Tae-young meets the impersonator again, whose appearance now looks almost like him. Although this makes Tae-young uncomfortable and also strange, but Tae-young who feels he currently needs the impersonator. Trying to be patient with all the impersonator's attitudes, because he feels he has to take care of Jo-won first, who has dared to try to attack him. By going to the police to issue an arrest warrant for Jo-won, who is a drug dealer, and visiting Jo-won's place accompanied by the impersonator. Where we are finally shown how Tae-young acts in terms of struggle, because he, who is alone with his bare hands, is able to finish off Jo-won's many subordinates one by one. And this certainly makes the imitator very amazed by Tae-young's excellent fighting skills, even though the two of them cannot find Jo-won. And after all that, Tae-young, who felt everything was done, asked the impersonator to no longer see him and no longer get close to Yoo-wha, because he felt their business was over. But the impersonator seems even more obsessed with being like Tae-young. He even continues to approach Yoo-wha to choose him over Tae-young. Until when the impersonator saw all the video footage of Tae-young, he realized something. In the house he bought from Tae-young, there was a secret room that Tae-young forgot about. When he opens the secret room, the impersonator finds a number of journals and various kinds of information, as well as video footage. The strange one was made by Tae-young about a new type of drug called siesta, which can make people addicted and die in an instant. The impersonator found a strangely recorded documentation in which Tae-young claimed that he was a journalist who was working with a detective named No-yeom to find out the effect of the siesta drug. And there the impersonator saw a photo of Yoo-wha that was slightly different from Yoo-wha now. Finding all that made the impersonator even more obsessed with being Tae-young, where now the impersonator also goes to tattoo artist apply a tattoo on his neck exactly the same as Tae-young has. After that are also shown if the impersonator now fully has the face and appearance of Tae-young. Even Tae-young's style of chewing gum is copied perfectly. And to distinguish between Tae-young and the impersonator is only by their glasses, because the impersonator always wears glasses, while Tae-young doesn't. The impersonator, who now feels like Tae-young, is seen coming to Siesta Casino, where everyone, including Dr. Choi and Yoo-wha, seem to think the impersonator is Tae-young. Tae-young, who saw this, certainly angered him, and asked the impersonator to leave immediately. However, the impersonator says that Siesta Casino is half owned by him, leaving him free to come or go. Hearing this, Tae-young almost wants to kill him, but is prevented by Dr. Choi, because now Tae-young also has a problem that he must solve, because Jo-won contacted him to hand over the name of the person who had given information about him to the police. But Tae-young ignores Jo-won's threat, because he feels that Jo-won can no longer do anything. While scene shown to the impersonator, who is seen meeting with police detective Yum to inform him that the person who made the siesta drug is Sergey. Until after that, the scene returns to Tae-young, who looks inattentive after drinking something that turns out that Tae-young's drink has been mixed with medicine by the impersonator. When Tae-young was drunk, the impersonator also said that his goal was to imitate Tae-young, because he wanted to take what should be his. Because he's not the one imitating Tae-young, but Tae-young is the one imitating him. And after that, the impersonator puts his glasses on Tae-young and goes to the car, where Yoo-wha is inside. While drunk, Tae-young gets into the impersonator's car, which has the impersonator's girlfriend who thinks like Yoo-wha. Where even though the impersonator acts and styles like Tae-young, Yoo-wha can tell that the Tae-young who is now near her is not Tae-young, but the impersonator. That is making the impersonator angry, but truck suddenly hits his car, and it turns out that Tae-young also experienced the same thing. This is done by Jo-won and his subordinates, who have been following Tae-young and the impersonator. Jo-won, who saw two Tae-young in front of him, immediately shot the original Tae-young, because he thought that the impersonator was the original Tae-young, and immediately took Yoo-wha to be locked up, with the intention that Tae-young would bring the person who had reported him to the police, which turns out to be Sergey, the Russian mafia that Detective Yim is also looking for. Now that the real Tae-young is gone, the impersonator is fully Tae-young, where he who wants to free Yoo-wha asks his subordinates to immediately bring Sergey to him. It turns out that the real Tae-young is still alive and is now brought by Yim, the police detective who warns Tae-young to stay out of trouble with Jo-won now. Tae-young, who doesn't understand Yim's words, is initially confused and clueless, until he saw an article about himself in the past who was a reporter, making him confused and now wondering who exactly is the real him. Is he the gangster boss who owns the Siesta Casino, or the man with glasses who is an apprentice reporter? Meanwhile, the impersonator is seen meeting Jo-won with someone claiming to be Sergey. However, Jo-won, who finds out that the person brought by the impersonator is not Sergey, immediately kills the impersonator's subordinates and threatens the impersonator again to bring the person he asked for immediately, if he doesn't want Yoo-wha to have a bad luck. Jo-won also told the impersonator if he was surprised by Tae-young's behavior that seemed different. For recklessly coming to him without any preparation, it's as if Tae-young isn't his old self. Hearing this, the impersonator looks angry, because he feels underestimated like Tae-young, who always has authority. For this reason, the impersonator tells his subordinates to prepare the best weapons for him to kill Jo-won. While Tae-young, who now feels confused about everything that happened, tries to remember what exactly he has forgotten and also missed, until Tae-young remembers a tattoo that is the same as his tattoo that he has been looking for all this time, because it is related to everything that happened. Tae-young looks ready to find it, starting with meeting Jo-won alone directly, where Jo-won, who saw Tae-young, was in front of him. Then Jo-won realizes that the man now standing in front of him is the real Tae-young, who looks authoritative and doesn't show the slightest aura of fear. Tae-young's goal is to take Jo-won to Sergey's place, who turns out to be Tae-young's own subordinate, who is now dead after taking siesta drugs. Fortunately, Sergey gives a name, Boris, who is the maker of siesta drugs. And when Tae-young comes to Boris' place, it turns out that the Boris is none other than Dr. Choi. He immediately asks Tae-young how it feels to be reborn using his drug. Hearing this, Tae-young was confused and immediately weakened when remembering everything that happened, where he remembers his past memories of being the reporter who worked with Detective Yeom. But out of curiosity and also wanting to know the effects of siesta drugs, Tae-young the reporter instead consumes siesta drugs. It's making him addicted and eventually losing his original personality as a reporter. And this is utilized by Dr. Choi by awakening and creating Tae-young's current personality, which is very violent and not afraid of anything. Knowing all that, of course, makes Tae-young so angry, especially since Tae-young had to let Yoo-hwa die because the siesta drug's effect. Where now, with all the memories that Tae-young remembers and feels, the anger can no longer be contained. When Tae-young sees Yoo-hwa, the impersonator turns out to feel the same way as him, where the two of them worked together to eliminate the Dr. Choi or Boris, and also Jo-won and his subordinates. And after it was finished, Tae-young intended to kill the impersonator. Tae-young realizes that the impersonator is none other than his own personality or Tae-young's other alter ego. After that main-blowing action, the movie ended.